folks, this is Bruce Hutchin, the host and executive producer of Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, and we're heading to Wisconsin. And as you guys know, I had a very interesting October 30th in Wisconsin. And I'm talking to Les Welch, and he lives only about a mile and a half from where my truck went upside down. Enough of that. Les is just an interesting guy. He and I have been doing the warm-up, and he's into a lot of things. The biggest thing that we found some common ground on was simply he really loves helping people with anything to do with hunting or fitness. And we're going to dive into the fitness part. But the first part of the show, we're going to talk with Les about how he's gotten to where he is, not as a paid person in the outdoor industry, but just as an individual that's on some pro staffs and is doing fitness at the Y and hunts like a fool come fall. Les, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bruce. Good to be here. And yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. A lot of fun things going on here between Wisconsin and Colorado. And ask away, and we'll cover what we can.
Well, let's just start. I know, a few years back, you wanted to come out west hunting, and your body wasn't really in shape for it, so to speak.
Sir. Yes, sir. It was in Wisconsin. Whitetail deer tree stand shape was about it. Round, I guess you could call it. I got on the scales one morning, basically at 230 pounds before my first out west trip back on August 26th of 08, and just decided I needed a life change at that point. It wasn't because I was going out west. It wasn't because of anything other than I knew I wouldn't last a long time like that. So I cut a bunch of weight and started working out, and that'll be 10 years here coming up, and I wouldn't change a thing. I learned a lot from a lot of good people, and I've been able to reciprocate that in helping some others along the way, and it's just been a great journey.
What was the hardest thing you had to overcome with the weight loss?
110% mental. If you ask me, that's the hardest thing of hunting in the mountains, is overcoming the mental part of it. I think anybody can do it. I think anybody can call an elk. I think anybody can come from Wisconsin and go to Colorado and kill an elk, regardless of what the stats say. It's all mental. And skinny, that's what I wanted to use in shape. I wanted to be skinny for a number of years, but I really didn't want to be because I didn't do anything about it. It just took getting on the scale one morning and the light bulb went on. Literally, it was just like that. And it was, I don't want to say it was easy, but it was not difficult.
So there's a lot of people, me included, for a lot of different reasons, we're carrying extra weight. What's the first thing they need to do to start in that journey of getting to where they need to be weight-wise?
Very simply, they need to have an end goal, a goal that is achievable, and they need to understand that they want it. Anybody can do this. There's maybe 1% of the people in the world who are stuck somewhere because they have a disease, they have a certain condition that limits them. But 99% of it is mental. Set what you want to do. And I tell every one of my clients at the gym, and I get paid a very good wage to help these people, but I tell them if they're only going to do one thing, that I never want to see them come in the doors of the gym again. 90% of what they need to do is learn how to cook in the kitchen and shop in the grocery store. If they do those two things and they do them 75% or 80% of the time the way they should, they'll lose the weight they need to become healthy or go to the mountains or whatever it is that they're looking for. So have a goal and learn how to eat and cook, plain and simple.
So my wife and I shouldn't go out to dinner on Friday night?
Sure. There's that one or maybe two times a week where I tell every one of my clients, I don't care what the worst meal in the world is, if it's ice cream topped with ice cream and wrapped in bacon, that's your deal, go do it. I don't care. You got to do that because you cannot 100% of the time stay to a strict focused diet. You'll fall right off the wagon like probably 80% of the people do. So have your day or two, maybe, you have a beer on Thursday nights with Bill and George and Sue, and on Saturday nights you go out with the wife and have whatever it is that you want, and then try to stay on the wagon 80% of the time, and I guarantee you'll have success.
Now, when you talked about the mental attitude, we both know in hunting that's 90% of the hunt, because anybody can start day one and you're all full of piss and vinegar. Day two, I know he's out there. Day three, day four, my foot hurts. Day five, I don't know. Day 6, oh, this hurts. Day 7, oh, I can't get out of bed. And you're done. That's kind of how it goes, right?
Man, it does. And you've heard the saying, 90% of the elk are killed by 10% of the hunters, and that's a good portion of the reason why right there. I work with guys who they have so much drive. They're talking about elk hunting right now. Their applications are doing another month in Colorado, and they're going back and forth. But man, by night 3, they're down in freaking Pagosa, or they're outside of Denver. They're at the bar having supper because they needed a break. Well, those aren't the 10% of the people who are going to kill the elk. It really is mental. I either hunt solo or I hunt with a gentleman here out of Wisconsin who is he'll be retiring this year. I believe he'll be 57. I'm 43. Can he keep up 100% with me in the mountains? Nope. But he's darn close, probably 90%, and he's got a great mental attitude. We hunt really good together. But we leave Wisconsin and we're gone for a minimum of 3 weeks. Every one of those hours is spent away from the truck. We leave camp in the morning an hour and a half before it gets daylight, and some nights it's midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when we return because we chased elk for 8 miles across 3 ridges we had no anticipation of doing. But we don't see camp in the daylight unless we're tagged out.
Folks, listen to that, because you can take your naps on the mountain. Okay, you got your food with you, you got your water with you, you got your water purification pump with you. You should have the basic things to stay out, and you can have your jet boil in your mountain home or mountain house or whatever you want to do. And so the biggest thing that I had to learn in the mountains, that I know when I leave camp, if I don't come back for a while, you figure that out, I'm good.
100%.
I'm good.
Yep.
Because what you just said about, you're sitting high in the basin, it's early, you hear some bulls bugling, and you wait, you see them drop into the timber, you go, okay, that's good. But then all of a sudden you're drifting towards those guys, and then you say, oh my goodness, did you see that bull? And you're gone. That first plan is gone, and now you're on the second plan, and this guy is just sucking you in.
You get it, man. You've been there.
And they do it. You have no idea, like you said, 8 miles away. You have no idea at the end of the day if you get them or not. It doesn't matter because you had one hell of a hunt, and you were smelling elk and seeing elk and watching elk pee and yada yada, all that good stuff. But then you're 5 miles easily from camp. Now it's dark. What are you going to do? And see, I think, Les, a lot of people are not prepared, for that scenario. I truly believe they're, hey, I'll get up, I'll get out, I'll come back for lunch, then I'll go and call some elk over here, then I'll come back and we'll have supper.
Man, you're 100% spot on. I mean, you can read people on the forums on Rockslide. I get a lot of questions, and that's just it. The guys are back at they're back at 10:30 in the morning cooking lunch, and like you said, we're napping maybe at 11 or 10 or noon, 4 miles from camp, and just waiting. We always start every morning. We've got 5 or 6 plans in mind, but those all might go out the window 10 minutes after we leave, headed where we're headed, because like you said, we heard that bull bugle and seen a different bull or whatever it might be. You're 100% spot on. We're there to hunt. I need to come back to work to recover. Basically, when I come back to work,
that's great.
Though, man, that's just the way it is for me, anyways.
Switching it up. So, Les and I are talking about elk hunting. We both, enjoy it immensely or love it or passionate about it. But the same thing can be said for whitetail hunters. The tradition of I'll go sit in the sand for 2 hours, then I'll come back in the cabin and have bacon and eggs and flapjacks and stuff. Then I'll go out for 2 to 5, and I wonder why I don't see any deer.
Yep. Other than I'm sitting in a tree stand here in Wisconsin or Iowa or Missouri, wherever it might be, versus running the mountains out there, it's the same concept. I'm out before daylight. In the peak of the rut, mostly I'll sit one stand, usually daylight to dark. But if something's just not feeling right, I'll bump stands. I might be out between 11:15, go 5 miles, just hop on a newsstand. But same thing, daylight to dark. And that's as much mental as it is going back to the food thing or trying to learn a new area from 1,100 miles away, whatever the case is. Sitting in a tree stand from daylight to dark is, man, there's a lot of mental there because there's a lot of downtime. But you always got to be on top of the game because it's just the way it is. You don't know. 11 to 1, just like elk hunting. And we've killed some booner bucks out here, just like we've killed some monster bulls out there. So, just never know.
So, folks, take a couple of things. One, mentally really be prepared for your hunt, no matter where you're going. From Alaska to Turkestan or whatever. It's a mental game that's you're either going to beat it or it's going to beat you. It's that easy. I've got a good friend, Brian Martin. He just killed a huge Marco Polo in Turkestan. And, he's been on with her a bunch of times. It's taken people, blah, blah, blah. But he always told me, he said, Bruce, with the sheep hunting deal, he said, yeah, you can get up the mountain, but can you stay after it? Can you sit on that ridge? Can the fog come in? All these type of things that get thrown in your face just for that one shot.
Yep.
That 1 second, that 3 pounds of pressure. I mean,
Yep.
It's amazing what we put ourselves through.
And you wonder why some people think we're nuts, but it's what we do. It's what we do it. And it's definitely not always about the kill. You might not even. Some of my most memorable hunts have been some of those hardest hunts, and it's just like. It's like racing. People wonder why do you put yourself through 15 hours of torture to cover 141 miles in a day? And I get nothing out of it. I'm not going to win. I don't care. It's when I cross the finish line, it's gratification. It's the end game, I guess. And it's everything that leads to it. It's just like hunting. It's just, man, is it September yet, Bruce?
Folks, Les does this triathlon thing. I've never done a triathlon. I've done triathlons just because I was air sea rescue in the Coast Guard, so I had to swim. And then I ran track in college. And then what else do you do? Bike.
Bike.
Yeah, I have biked 100 miles. So I guess all combined, I've done a triathlon. Whoopie-doo.
There you go. All good.
Yeah, whoopie-doo. But you think about that, just the adventures you have. And the thing I remember most about all my hunts that I've been fortunate to go on is the people, the indigenous people, the people not in the airports, not in, any other place, but the people that actually live there and live that lifestyle. When everybody goes home, that's where they live. And people miss that so much. I mean, it's just like, give me a break. This is how they've lived, and they've lived that way for a really long time.
Centuries, yeah. Yep.
Your thoughts on that? Your thoughts on how people live in these far-flung places?
It's neat to see. I've never had the privilege of some of the faraway places like in northern Alaska. I've got a friend right out of high school that moved up there, and she actually flies from remote village to remote village and works with speaking in the different villages. I've never had the privilege of experiencing that or any of the other faraway countries. I've hunted Canada and stuff like that, but I think when we have it mental, I guess maybe it's not so much mental for them. They're used to it, but man, what a life, it's rough.
But it's simple, and every time I visited these places, every time I came back, I looked at my house and my truck and, my refrigerator and my stove and my microwave and, my shower, and you look at that and go, these are flat out luxuries.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I thought many times I'm born maybe 100 years too late. If I could go back and just, granted we'd miss a lot of the things that we're able to do now as far as hunting Colorado one day and Iowa 2 days later. But geez, to go back in time and be able to hunt, live and gather the way they did, I'm sure would be kind of fun.
Yeah, takes special people. I mean, they were tough. There's absolutely no, If you weren't, you died, pretty much.
Yes.
That's,
Yep. Yeah.
that.
And sometimes, and they did, just because of the simple things that we have simple cures for now.
Yeah. So let's talk about your involvement with Rockslide Mountain Ops, and I think it's Sitka Gear, the different companies that you're, I believe, pro staff for. What's all that mean, and why should people look into being involved in some of these outdoor companies?
Bruce, I get asked that question literally 3 to 5 times some days during the week, probably 10 times, 12 times total per week. How did I do this? Why did it? How'd you get there? Why are you there? I love to hunt. I love to work out, and I love to help people, whether they're, 10-year-old kids, a 20-year-old college kid who's never been out west. I'm working with right now, having a lot of fun. Whether it's I leave tomorrow afternoon to head to the Iowa Deer Classic, and I'll sit and BS with some of the biggest names in the industry. I do it because I like to do it. I don't get paid to do it. I get some gear at a discount, or I write some articles for Rockslide that I get paid for, but I have a full-time job as a machinist in engineering in Presto here in Eau Claire, so that's what pays my bills. I just love the outdoors, the people I've met in the industry. I don't know. You ask why should people do it? For a lot of people, it's not for them. I know a lot of people who are phenomenal hunters, better hunters than I'll ever be. They want nothing to do with the background light. They want to do their thing and let not have anybody know about it, and that's totally respectable. And I don't care if anybody knows if I ever kill anything. For me, it's all about that, and spending some time with my kids in the outdoors and just helping people. It's what I like to do. I got my start. Honestly, Corey Jacobson, world-renowned elk caller, was looking for some people when he used to run the pro staff for Sitka back in 2011, and Corey I've been on the forum since I was old enough to type a computer and turn it on when we had him the outdoors, and knew that I was really kind of I don't know if I'd say hardcore is the right word, but really interested in hunting, did a lot of it, and so he approached me, and that kind of started the ball there. And then 2012, and Aaron Snyder with Kafaru, they started Rockslide, and again knew of my different posting and wanted to know if I would be interested in just writing some informational articles from a guy who comes from the east and goes out west and gets it done every year. That they just thought there would be some traction there, and I've been with Rockslide ever since. And the ball has just snowballed, so to speak, and working with Mountain Ops, testing some new products now, and Iron Will Outfitters. Hey, Bill Vanderheijn, he's right out there by you.
I know he's going to be on the show early March.
Okay, yep. So I'm helping Bill out, running the pro staff there for him, making some really great broadheads. Just all the different companies. I can name them all, but it really doesn't make any difference who they are. But the one thing that I've never shied away from, all of these products are companies that I've bought full price in the past, or I pay full price right now because I'm not sponsored, affiliated, whatever you want to call with those companies, because I believe they're the best products. Matthews Archery is an hour away. You can flip a coin, Matthews, Hoyt. The companies in business now in bows they're good companies, but I've been with Matthews since day one, shooting them. I believe in them, and I won't take a product so I can put my name on it, so to speak, if I won't shoot it, if I won't hunt with it, if I don't believe in it, because I don't get paid. It's not my life. Hunting is more of my life than putting my name on something. I could care less about that.
So takeaways from Les's last few minutes is he's passionate about hunting. He uses gear to go hunting. Iron Will broadheads aren't the cheapest in the industry, but they're rock solid and they're engineered, and they'll take down a Yukon moose like a hot knife through butter. And you start thinking about the different companies, and that's why what makes less interesting to this man is that he doesn't have his hand out, and he's not look at me, look at me, look at me. And some people are, and that's the way it is, and it's a business, and I get that. But when you run across a guy like Wes, he's the type of guy that you just love to be in the mountains with, because one, it'd be fun, you'd learn something, and he'd probably kick your ass. But that's okay. That's been done before.
Yeah. We all have our little quirks. The gentleman I hunt with, Mike, we have some standing jokes going back and forth. And, I always tell him he's too slow, and he always says I'm too fast. And I think there's probably more truth to his, that I work a little too fast sometimes because I have that ability to, where he's a little more elevated age, still in great shape, but he takes things a little slower. And I've learned, can't even tell you how much I've learned from the guy. But we feed off of one another well. And you're right. I don't have, if all of the people I'm affiliated with walked away tomorrow, I would still shoot all of their products, or I'd still use all of their products, because I really do honestly believe they're the best in the industry. There's some other great ones out there that, and don't get me wrong, that you wouldn't go wrong shooting with. But from a guy who comes from the East and travels anywhere from, I put 3,100 miles on my truck from door to door last year. I had a multi-state swing. I don't care if I'm shooting one $30 broadhead or if I'm shooting a $1,000 bow. None of that means a goddamn thing if it doesn't work in the end when I need it to, and I've just wrapped up, maybe 5,000 in gas and food and the whole time off of work and that kind of thing. So you're right. I don't care what the name is on the product I use, as long as it serves the function that I need. But when I'm using these products, I'll gladly tell people what they are and help them with it, because I do feel they're the best. And if it saves somebody's hunt somewhere down the line, perfect. We all win.
Let's stop. We just hit a little hunting moment. Going slow beats going fast every single time. And putting your butt on the ground and glassing beats both of them every single time, in my opinion. So chime in there, Les.
Yep. Let's equate that not only to hunting. I do a lot of things. Let's equate it to triathlon. Going slow in the water actually speeds you up. Going slow on that run actually speeds you up. I skied the American Birkebeiner on Saturday, 50 kilometers, and I could come out of the gates and go pretty fast, and I think I would have probably had a really good race. But it's going slow and steady. There's so much more benefit to it all the way around in everything we do. It's weight loss. Some guys want to see on Biggest Loser on TV, they want to see a 6-pound weight loss, in a week, or a 10-pound weight loss. But if you lose 1.5 pounds a week every week, think about that. That's 75 pounds a year, versus the guy who loses 20 pounds in a couple weeks, doesn't lose a pound because he's went the other direction and then gives up. 99% of the time, slow and steady will win the race.
What about glassing? How much time do you glass? And, I glass when I'm whitetail hunting, because I believe in long distance scouting. But let's start there, and let's take it out west and talk about glassing, the technique of glassing.
Yep. You're going to probably try to reach through the camera there and slap me a little bit. I've got a nice couple $1,000 pair of Zeiss optics that usually stay in my truck when I'm elk hunting, because I'm deep and dirty. 99% of the stuff that I hunt is in the black timber. A rangefinder will do it for me. Now, to be in 100% honesty, I've been carrying those binos the last couple of years. They sit right in that nice little Sitka bino harness I got, and that's where they stay most of the time. Now, that's my elk hunting style, and I really love to hunt elk. I love to call elk from September 6th, 5th, all the way through the end of the month. I don't get above timberline much. Now, when I'm going to be out antelope hunting, when I'm going to be in that August high country above timberline mule deer hunting, absolutely. I've got the spotter, the optics, the binoculars. For me, for elk, I don't use binos much. The last 3 years, I've carted them along every single minute in the woods. I don't regret it. It's 2.5, 3 pounds that I don't use a lot. And I know I'm different than most people. Most people will love to sit up glass and get in front. I'm not about killing a 350-inch bull, a 330-inch bull every time, or any time for that matter. I'm for the experience. I want the bull in my face, and the best place for me, I found that, is the dark timber.
And that's interesting because it's styles, and I'd love to leave 4:00 in the morning, let's say, and get up before dark and get above the basin. I'm above timberline. And then I'm just snuggled in. I might give one locator bugle, just one. And it's not a big raspy dude. It's just like that. And then you just hit it, and then you don't do anything. Even if a bull comes back at you, you don't. Then I get my glasses up, and then that's how I use my glasses. I agree 100%. If you're in the dark timber and stuff, you can smell the elk. You don't have to worry about where. No, literally, you're smelling him, folks. I mean, that's what you're doing, and you better be smelling him because if you're not, he's gone.
Yep, and yeah, so Mike and I hunt. We tandem hunt quite a bit, or we each hunt solo. We're really the only guys that we hunt with, so it kind of depends on where we draw tags. And we each drew New Mexico in 2017 this past fall. I was lucky and drew a 16B Gila tag, and he drew a tag in another unit, so we were solo for quite a while. But then we headed to Colorado, so we got some hunt time in together there. But we kind of coined a phrase a number of years ago. He's got a really good smell, and I can hear really good. So when we hear a bugle, he's pointing this way, but I'll point this way, and we go that way. But all of a sudden, he'll stop and he'll say smelk. Well, we combine smell and elk, so we just say smelk now. When he smells, he can smell really well. So it's pretty fun. Yeah, we have the two senses combined. So, but yeah, you're right. If you're not smelling them, you're not seeing them. It's probably time to do something a little different. But
yeah, it's definitely time because you can see, especially if there's rubs and wallows and scat or poop. If you're seeing all that stuff, then you just gotta put on the brakes and figure it out.
Yep. Exactly.
That's neat. So let's talk about, you say you're right for Rockslide, and they got a bunch of really neat, I think, Jordan Budd is one of the writers there?
Jordan's awesome. Yeah, she just had a really good sheep hunt here this last week. They got some good video and some good footage, so she's headed back home to do some editing there. I think Rockslide has got the coolest group of people. There's no bullshit, and you get that typical guy on there that wants to troll and cause trouble, and we don't even mess around. He's just gone. All the different writers, moderators, forum people that are associated or with Rockslide, man, you can email them or private message them or post a question on the forum. Sorry, Robbie, for saying this, but man, if you want to put somebody out there and say, Tony out of Michigan is a phenomenal hunter. He's one of us. Any one of us. We see our name on the forum, we're going to answer your question. You can private message. I answer messages multiple times a day usually. It's just a great resource for anybody that wants to do Western hunting. And Tony and myself, we try to kick in a little bit of an Eastern kick a little bit because he's in Michigan, I'm here in Wisconsin. And we bring a different perspective to the Western forums as well because we both seem to get it done on a fairly consistent basis. And, there's just, you're glassing a lot and I'm not, so it just brings a different perspective. But yeah, Rockslide's a great resource. Gosh, I can't say enough good about it.
Let's switch it up. We got some time left here. Let's talk about DIY in Wisconsin, what it was, what it is today, and what it's going to be tomorrow.
It's a good question. Man, when I grew up, so I've got a cabin up on Lake Superior in Cornucopia. It's been in the family since 1946, the year my dad was born. He went off in Vietnam and came back and went from my grandpa to my dad and from my dad to myself, and it'll eventually go from me to my son Hunter, he's 15 now. But it's changed a lot. The big woods is still pretty big woods up there. Locally here, I'm in kind of west central Wisconsin, the Eau Claire area for people who know the bigger cities. Used to be able to knock on a door. Heck, when I was in high school, which has been, it's been a while, 25 years ago, I could hop out my mom and dad's door and I could walk for 2 miles and shoot squirrels and grouse and tramp through beaver ponds and all that kind of stuff. And just like everything else, times are changed. The hunting's not the same. We've got some great deer. The deer population kind of ebbs and flows, but I've been really lucky. All I hunt is public lands. Whether it's here in Wisconsin or it's out west in Colorado, New Mexico, Idaho, Wyoming, doesn't matter. I'm a public land DIY guy. I've been on one guided bear hunt, and I'm going to go this spring to Ontario with my son again. But for Wisconsin, it has changed a lot. The public lands they're more crowded, which is a good thing. That means that we're bringing more hunters, more youth, more women, more men into the foray, which is good, but it's harder to find access. There's a lot more leasing going on. Obviously, everybody's familiar with Buffalo County in Wisconsin. We produce more Pope and Young bucks than any place in the world. There's still some of the good old boys down there who occasionally, once in a while, somebody will sneak in on a knock and a shake of the hand and maybe a beer afterwards. But that's few and far between now. So for me, for DIY and on the public land here like I do, I kind of give up hunting the Bayfield County up there because the wolves have taken over. I see more wolves on a typical, week-long hunt up there than I do whitetails now. So I've kind of gravitated. I had to switch gears like we all have to do if we want to be successful. And successful sometimes is just seeing a deer now. But man, it's changed a lot. I don't see it getting better for the DIY guy. There's just a lot of money involved now, but it's not an excuse either. I've killed some great bucks the last 5 years on public land, heavily pressured. Just got to work harder, be a little smarter. The drill. It's the same as out west.
Yeah, it's not easy. So what are your 5, tips that allow you to, put bucks on the ground?
Well, I'll steal Heads Up Decoys slogan, be mobile, stay mobile. I use that in everything. For whitetails in Wisconsin, my number one tip is find big sign and hunt it. Big bucks will leave little sign. Little bucks will not leave big sign. I don't care if that's Missouri, if it's Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, doesn't matter. Buck's a buck. But from October 24th through 8th, somewhere in there, I'm looking for the freshest, biggest sign I can find. Yeah, I run cameras on public land. I do all that stuff. But at that stage of the game, it really doesn't matter. Those bucks are on their feet. They're moving. So it's just like Heads Up Decoy, man. Be mobile, stay mobile. I run a decoy. I rattle. And I grunt. I do a fight sequence. It's my own. I've used it to kill. Some of the bucks I've killed with it they astound me for public land, for deer that are pressured, but they fall for it. Aggressive. I'm not passive. A lot of guys will go to their one stand. I'm not going to get into the whole baiting debate. That's not my deal. But they're going to go to their one stand. Maybe they got bait there, maybe they don't, and that's where they're going to hunt regardless. Not me. I have foot traveled from basically right now. I mean, we're still thigh high up here, maybe 18 inches of snow on the ground. But I'm looking for sheds. I know the travel patterns of corridors, and when I find fresh sign in those areas that I'm familiar with or unfamiliar with, for that matter, I hang a stand and I hunt it immediately, and I'm very vocal in the rut. So a lot of grunting, a lot of rattling, just fight sequences, and with the decoy, it's pretty killer setup.
The decoy he's talking about, Heads Up Decoy by Garrett Rowe. Garrett's out of Kansas, and he's done some fantastic things, and I've been, able to see some of his video footage and to talk to him extensively, and it's just amazing what he does in pancake-shaped Kansas, not a tree within 100 miles, and you think I'm joking. I'm not, folks. There's yucca bushes and there's Russian olive and there's this and that, but he'll get right on top of a buck and then he'll just snort wheeze at them, or he'll just tick some antlers, or he'll do something. The buck stands up and he shoots it. That's 30 yards from a buck that's got a doe, locked down. And so if you never checked out Garrett Rowe, here you go, Garrett, free one for you. Go to Heads Up Decoy, Garrett Rowe, and tell him Les and Bruce sent you over. I can't. But I use his turkey stuff. I use his elk stuff. I use his deer stuff.
Yeah. Yep. I carry his elk decoy. Man, from the time I parked my truck, it's sitting on the back. It fits really nice in the back of my Cafaro, and there's a way I got it set up so I can pull it out while we're elk hunting. If something happens quick, I've got it clipped so I can clip it if I'm solo. If Mike's with, I can wave him forward 10 yards and I can be back flashing that decoy or whatever. But like you said, it's awesome for antelope is amazing. If you want to do some spot and stalk pre-rut time. Now you want to be careful with the rifle hunting, obviously, but turkey hunting. I've shot turkeys in Wisconsin. Again, public land. These are highly pressured birds. They're not smart, but man, these birds are wary. I've shot 2 turkeys inside of 3 yards with this thing on my bow. It's ridiculous. I can't even explain how fun it is, because this hunter was 7 years old. So this was 8 years ago when I first started using these, 7 years ago, whatever it was. And I had this on the front of my bow, and this Tom was out in the field, and he was about 95 yards away. And I was holding my bow up with Hunter right to my left side here, and I was trying to yelp. I didn't have a diaphragm, man. I was trying to yelp on a slate call, and I yelped a couple times, and as I was setting the striker down, Hunter says, "Dad, shoot him, shoot him." And this bird was at 10 yards running wide open at me. I struggled to reef the bow back right there, and ended up, he comes into full strut at 5 yards, and I shot him at 3. That's happened a couple times with that turkey decoy, but multiple times inside. I've shot numerous bow birds, inside of 10 yards with the decoy. But yeah, it just goes back to, your questions. Just be mobile and stay mobile. I don't care if you're elk hunting, if you're deer hunting, if you're turkey hunting. You got to be where the animals are. And Corey Jacobson says it best. He might walk by 50 bulls a day because he's looking for the one that wants to die at that time. It might be a bad way to put it. I don't care, but he's 100% right. I can sit in a tree stand 300 hours a year and wait for something to come to me. Man, when I get the chance to turkey hunt, to deer hunt, not deer hunt, but antelope hunt or elk hunt, man, I want to take the game to them. And the decoy, the calling, finding the one animal that wants to play at that time. That's what my whole season's about. If I don't kill them, I don't kill them. They get to win. That's okay too. But at least we got that interaction, that experience. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and folks, if you've never used a decoy, now we're pumping out Heads Up Decoy, Yahoo, but there's a lot of other decoys on the market, and you really owe it to yourself. And start off real simple. Start off with the turkey. Start off with the antelope. Then you move it up into your deer, and then finally the elk. Or you can do whatever the heck you want. But if you've never seen a buck come in and bust the crap out of a decoy, it's unbelievable. You've seen the YouTube videos, and you go, oh, my goodness. Some of those flambeau decoys, he just comes ripping in and kaboom. I mean, that's fun. If you're sitting in a tree stand, that's fun.
You can't really explain it to somebody. You got to either, like you say, watch it on YouTube. But, man, to see it in person, like I said, to see a turkey cover 85 yards in 20 seconds, like, you know how they run, they got everything swinging side to side, and you're like, what is wrong with this thing? And then, poof, there they are, full fan. Or that elk, as you flash that decoy or whatever, that elk come charging in with, saliva, snot running down, and then bugle in your face at 5 or 8 yards. I shot an elk in 2011 in Colorado out by you. At 3 yards, that sucker, I was on the ground kneeling, and he come in. I'll never forget it. He was just a rag 4x5, but at 3 yards, he let out.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, I'll never forget it. It's amazing, man. If you haven't not hunted with a decoy, you owe it to yourself. There's a learning curve. You're going to scare some. You're going to do some things wrong, but that's with anything you do. It doesn't matter. Yeah, give it a whirl. It's amazing.
Well, folks, we've covered a lot. I've been flapping my jaws, and Les, I just I really look forward to if we can get a day or two this fall, just to hang out and take our decoys, heads up decoys, and go to see what we can see. Because I hunt down by Laval, Baraboo River. That's where I hunt. I've been hunting the same farm for 51 years.
Awesome.
It is. Yeah, it pretty much is, and it's the second generation that are running the farm now. But needless to say, folks, we talked a lot. We haven't talked a lot of techniques. We've talked about the industry. We've talked about certainly elk hunting, but we talked about techniques that will work no matter what you're hunting, and that's the best thing. I wanted to get with Les because I can't wait to have him on the show again, and we can unpack some things specifically. When he talked about big sign, what is big sign? The rub that's on a 16-inch tree or the scrape that looks like a community scrape. Well, that's what it is. But there's a lot of different things that we can do, and the whole thing that they do at Rockslide, and I know we do here at Whitetail Rendezvous, is give you some information. I can't give you all the answers because I don't have them. They don't exist. I don't have them. But I've had enough fun in the woods and got my butt kicked enough by critters to know a little something about something. Your thoughts to wrap it up, Les?
No, you summed it up really well. I know for sure I'm going to be out in June. I'll try to give you a holler. I'm going to be up in Boulder doing Ironman up there. But no, maybe to step away from the industry, to step away from the woods, to step away from all of that. We're a really, really small piece in a really big universe. We get 86,400 seconds a day. I hope you all use them wisely because we don't get any redos in this grand scheme. And, help somebody who needs help, who's got a question. Maybe it's a kid, maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's someone new in the industry, in the woods, whatever it might be. And just smile and laugh, man. Live life big because it's our only one. So, Bruce, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Had a lot of fun. Can't wait to share that beer with you. And good luck, everybody, this fall, and stay safe.